those you walk this land.
Hello everybody.
Hello.
Welcome back to Ninebarrow HQ. We hope 2023 has started in fine fashion for you. A very happy new year, wherever this episode finds you.
Yes, welcome to episode 7 of Ninebarrow Wandering Minstrels. So thanks for coming back. A massive pleasure to have you, Chez nous, once again. So,
Chez nous, Rodney. Chez
French,
nous.
isn't it?
Okay,
Yeah.
it's French. It's splendid. Yes, the days are still short, but they're getting longer, and that is the main thing. And we thought that perhaps the best way to maybe blow away the January blues would be to gather together for an evening of wandering, chat, music, and good company.
good company indeed, absolutely. So last time we took you on a bit of a break from Dorset. We took you all the way up to Cumbria, to our, what we like to think of as our home away from home. We do love it up there, but it's always nice to come back home to Dorset. And this episode takes us a little bit further away from Purbeck, where we spend most of our time, up to the north of Dorset.
Yeah, we do spend a lot of our time on the coast, but since Jay's mum, Vicky, moved up to North Dorset, we've really enjoyed exploring that part of the county as well. And in a fortuitous confluence of events, we happened to be house sitting for Kev and Vicky up in North Dorset, but more importantly, we were also dog sitting.
Yes, for His Most Royal Regal Highness Eddie the dog.
Who many of you will maybe we'll cut away to a shot of Eddie here just to get that kind of, oh, isn't he cute? Yes, he is. So yes, we found ourselves in North Dorset and we thought perhaps it would be a good opportunity to film an episode of Wandering Minstrels in that part of the county. Now,
Just before you start thinking, oh yeah, a whole episode filled with Eddie the dog, if you're that way inclined.
we decided that the problem with filming Wandering Minstrels, as you may be aware from other things we've said over the years, is that the episodes do not happen in real time.
Yeah, smoke and mirrors might make it look like we did the walk in 20 minutes, but it usually takes the best part of a day, if not two.
And sometimes two, yes. This one was actually done in one day, but we decided that whilst Eddie seems to have boundless energy in all the footage we share with you guys, asking him to sit quietly on a hillside for the best part of a day might not be the best idea. So we actually filmed this episode in chunks, driving home to check on Eddie, give him his lunch, all that kind of stuff, give him a walk around the woodland, and then come back to film the rest in the afternoon. I think it's about time we find out what this all looks like and see what we've got coming up in this evening's show.
Agreed.
We take you on a glorious yomp to explore two of Dorset's most iconic Iron Age sites.
And during the course of the walk, we'll explore some of the fascinating history behind Dorset's incredible chain of hill forts.
Back in the studio, we catch up with one of our good friends, Dan Walsh, to chat about his status as a legend of the clawhammer banjo.
And as always, we'll bring you a song from the Ninebarrow Gig Archive.
As well as news about our next live stream and our upcoming three-dimensional spring tour.
And finally, we'll be sharing a track from our episode 7 mixtape, which will accompany a very exciting announcement about our 2024 musical walking holidays.
And as if all of that wasn't exciting enough, we're also going to be making the draw for the Great Ninebarrow Raffle of 2023. We've previously had the Tommy Tipper of Truth. We've decided this time to use
Salad spinner of suspense.
Just listen to the suspense, everybody.
I'm on tenterhooks.
Absolutely. I love salad spinners. I've had a real thing about them since I used to play with Grandma's one when I was a kid. Anyway, enough about my deep-seated issues. Probably time to get on with the show, I think.
Agreed. Let's get out of here. Hello everyone, here we are in the beautiful Blackmoor Vale atop the northern ramparts of Hambledon Hill, one of Dorset's most iconic Iron Age hill forts.
Hill forts represent some of the most dramatic and visually striking monuments in the UK. They started appearing in the late Bronze Age and they reached their height in the middle of the Iron Age.
And we're particularly lucky here in Dorset as we've got 35 of these incredible locations to explore, and many of them were built more than 2,000 years ago.
Yeah, Hambledon Hill rises 190 metres above the surrounding landscape, and it's one of the best preserved hill forts in the whole of the country. It's got great arable land, plenty of resources provided by the River Stour, and with its steep natural contours, it's not hard to see why the site provided the perfect location for a settlement.
Hambledon Hill and Hod Hill, which we'll visit later on in the walk, they form part of a chain of hill forts that begin at the Iron Age port of Hengistbury Head near Bournemouth, and they also include Dudsbury, Badbury and Spettersbury rings, and these combined with Hod and Hambledon Hills likely formed a major Iron Age trading route.
Now, back in episode 2 of Wandering Minstrels, we visited another hill fort in the south of the county that time, and it was called Abbotsbury Castle. And that was the place where the Roman conquest of Britain began in AD 43.
And you can still, by the way, go and watch that episode if you missed it. It's still on YouTube, but in it we talked about a tribe called the Durotriges who put up, well, less than a staunch defence of that particular hill fort when they were faced with the might of the Roman legions.
Yeah, they let them in, basically. But the Durotriges was supposedly a wealthy tribe, and they occupied many of Dorset's hill forts at that time. But archaeologists think that actually Hambledon Hill, where we are, had already been abandoned by the time of the Roman conquest in favour of the larger Hod Hill. So sadly, once again, there is no Iron Age battle for us to tell you about here.
So Hod Hill must be a pretty special place, right? Because Hambledon Hill is already pretty spectacular.
It is. Well, let's head in that direction and find out why it was so special.
Follow me, child, we're walking out west, up to the ridge and beyond the crest, where the thistles grow thick and the autumn breeze sings its duet with the lark above on the wing. Follow me, child, as the sun rises slow and bathes the rich fields in the dawn's early glow. The trees not yet clear, ruddy leaves on display, and we'll visit our kin at the breaking of day.
So there's a fair bit of evidence that sites like Hambledon Hill were used long before the hill forts themselves were constructed. And in fact, there's a long barrow right within Hambledon Hill here, known by the fabulous name of the Giant's Grave, and that dates back to about 3500 BC, so way before these ramparts were built.
I have to keep reminding myself actually that these were built by human hands. It's a pretty incredible thought really. Now there's differing opinions as to exactly why hill forts like Hambledon Hill were constructed, and those theories range from them being created as a defence against hostile neighbours to them simply being a status symbol for some big cheese within the tribe.
Now, we said that Hambledon Hill had been abandoned by the arrival of the Romans and their armies, and that there was no battle here. But if you Google the Battle of Hambledon Hill, you will actually get quite a few results, although you'll have to wait 16 centuries after the arrival of the Romans to get to this particular battle.
Yeah, 1,602 years to be precise. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't used for much other than grazing livestock, really, since the 1st century BC. But during the English Civil War, in August 1645, this site did see, well, it has been dubbed as a battle, but it was really more of a minor skirmish. But it does claim the auspicious title of last known British battle on a hill fort, which is pretty cool.
Very cool. And it's worth remembering that Dorset lay between the parliamentary strongholds in the southeast and the royalist strongholds in the west country. And for that reason, it was quite literally divided.
Now, both sides were fairly indiscriminate in the way that they plundered these rural communities in what essentially was a no man's land. And the Blackmore Vale, where we are today, was particularly badly affected.
Now, the soldiers of the day were poorly paid and fairly ill-disciplined by modern standards, and fed up with this, the local farmers began forming their own militias to defend themselves and their families. And these militias were known as clubmen due to the fact that they weren't really furnished with much more than clubs in the way of weaponry.
Yeah, by the summer of 1645, royalist fortunes were beginning to ebb, and parliamentary forces were starting to advance into the southwest and were beginning to find the presence of these clubmen a bit more of an issue because their supply lines were starting to be threatened.
Now, some early skirmishes were ended rather diplomatically, but in August of 1645, a detachment of dragoons, led by none other than Oliver Cromwell himself, came upon 4,000 clubmen here on top of Hambledon Hill.
So the clubmen had dug trenches here and they were using the existing Iron Age ramparts. But they were fairly easily outwitted by Cromwell, who attacked them from the front with his main force and sent 50 soldiers round the back to charge the rear.
Dragoons, John, not soldiers. You can say dragoons.
Dragoons.
Yes,
Dragoons.
but the result was that the clubmen were rolling down the banks of the hill fort to get away, and 60 of them were killed.
Yeah, only 60 of them, but hundreds were rounded up and imprisoned in St Mary's Church in the village of Shroton, which is just east of here, where legend has it a roundhead helmet was left hanging outside the church as a reminder for many years afterwards.
Oliver Cromwell was quoted as calling the clubmen poor, silly creatures before he let most of them go. But it's hard not to feel a little bit of admiration for them, really, is it?
Yeah, I mean, all they wanted to do was to protect their families and their possessions from being plundered. And they wanted to bring about, and I quote, an end to this civil and unnatural war within the kingdom. Quite brave, really.
Yes, so I think we've yabbered on for a little while now, haven't we? So, time to get going?
Let's get going.
Let's get going.
I love the way you say dragoons. Dragoons. Dragoons.
Shadows shift through your streaming veil. Orchids trim the ancient trail to crumbling spire. Engine hill fort, mound and tower, overthrown in rough hues of brown. Patchwork drapes the barrow down. The quills bestowed on time. Henge and hill forts, mound and tower, overthrown by grass and flower. Henge and hill forts, mound and towers, overthrown by grass and flower with gold. The fortress overthrown. Fleeting day unravels, unfolds.
We absolutely love this walk. It's got incredible views, it's got interesting history, but it's also got a real diversity of landscapes as well. We've left Hambledon Hill behind, and we're now right down by the banks of the River Stour.
And we're actually at the foot of our second hill fort objective of the day, which is Hod Hill, and we'll tell you a bit more about that, of course, in the second half. But we just wanted to pause here for a breather, just for a moment, partly because it's beautiful down here in Hodwood.
Yeah, but also because of the importance of the River Stour. Obviously, a ready supply of water is going to be pretty important to any Iron Age settlement, or indeed any community at all.
But the proximity of Hambledon and Hod Hills to the Stour already made them prime spots for settlement, but what made this area even more attractive was the fact that the River Stour provided a navigable waterway for smaller dugout boats.
Yeah, and that waterway led all the way to the sea, meaning that goods could be brought right to the foot of these hill forts from the port at Hengistbury Head, an Iron Age Amazon Prime, if you like.
If you like. Yeah, so it's probably time for us to wind up the first half of this walk with a song. And what better song to sing beside the lovely meanderings of the Stour than Nick Drake's Riverman.
Betty came by on her way, said she had a word to say about things today and fallen leaves. Said she hadn't heard the news, hadn't had the time to choose a way to lose, but she believed. I'm gonna see the riverman, gonna tell him all I can about the plan for lilac time. If he tells me all he knows about the way his river flows, and all night show in summertime. said she prayed today for the sky to blow away, or maybe stay. She wasn't sure. For when she thought of summer rain calling for her mind again, she'll host the pain and stay for more. I'm gonna see the riverman, gonna tell him all I can about the band. I'm feeling free. And if he tells me all he knows about the way his river flows, I don't suppose it's meant for me. Oh, how they come and go. Oh, how they come and go. Nick Drake's Riverman. Couldn't be a more appropriate place. And I'm glad that we did not end up in it, because it was a close call coming down the bank just behind the camera.
You're only a couple of steps away from the river, aren't you, John?
I'm
So,
feeling slightly precarious, I have to be honest.
Best head back to the studio, to Ninebarrow HQ.
Yes, and we don't know what's coming next, but hopefully the other John and Jay do.
Hopefully. See you shortly. What do you mean, hopefully, the other John and Jay know what's going on? Of course we know what's going on at all times. It is outrageous.
Being trolled by yourself.
That's Ninebarrow.
That's Ninebarrow, yes, it is. The bizarre and weird world of Ninebarrow.
Yes, welcome to us. Anyway, so we felt that was a good time to down tools at that point and head back to Rose Cottage to give Eddie his lunch and a bit of a blast around the block. But we will, of course, finish the walk later on in the show.
I have a sneaking suspicion I cleaned up at the Riverside, actually, and Jay went off and had lunch and took Eddie for a walk. That's my recollection of it, and I was left to carry the gear. But there you go. That's also Ninebarrow for you.
Anyway, so
wherever you're joining us from today, do let us know in the comments. If you're tuning in through YouTube, you can use their kind of comment system. It's always a bit fiddly if you're watching on the TV, though. So the best possible place to comment and join the community is the Barrow Bods Facebook group, ever growing, over 2,200 members now.
A lot of bods.
What a lot of bods.
Yeah.
And we always have an official chat thread in there for all of our live events. And the reason we do it in the Barrow Bods is because it then doesn't get spammed by people trying to sell you things, because it's behind our Barrow Bods defences, if you like. And you don't have to like anything else about Facebook. You can just join solely for the purpose of joining the bods.
Exactly. Yeah. As long as you've got an interest in us, that's fine. But of course, these shows, we don't like them just to be about us. There's so much else to talk about, and this show is no different. So we are about to show you a little bit about one of our very special friends, who is Dan Walsh.
Yes. We said a bit about him in the first half. He's a banjo legend on both sides of the Atlantic. I think we were trying to remember when we first met Dan, and I think we'd been aware of his work for a long time. But the first time we spent any extended time with him was at our wedding, because he plays in a quartet called the Urban Folk Quartet, and we booked them for the wedding. And they were amazing, as we knew.
As we knew they would.
As we knew
there was
they
always a
would
little
be.
bit of a apprehension booking a folk band for a wedding, even our wedding. Our friends and family obviously knew exactly what we're all about.
They're tolerant of us.
Tolerant, yes, but whether they'd actually get up and boogie, my goodness, they had everybody going. So
They did. So before we cut to the interview we did with Dan a little bit earlier, we thought maybe it'd be nice for you to hear a little bit of what he can do with the banjo.
I can wait to be back a ride along, no time to waste. The car is packed, so let's get going. I can't wait to go to the local every day. I've loved my time away from here, but now it's time to stay.
Mr. Dan Walsh.
Hello, how you doing?
Oh,
Very good.
we're
How are you
doing
doing?
very well. It's lovely to see you. How are things?
Absolutely wonderful, yeah. And the last 15 minutes of trying to get Zoom to work has been a lot of fun.
They'll never know, Dan. They'll never know.
Absolutely. But yes, no, life is good. Thank you. Yes, very good.
fab.
Thanks for taking the time to have a chat.
Have you got a cup of tea there, by the way?
Always.
Excellent.
Absolutely.
Lovely. So the way we normally start off these interviews with asking how people have found their way into the weird and wonderful, mostly wonderful world of folk music. Is there a particular story there, or?
Yes, I suppose there is. Mine's probably a little less orthodox than a lot of, because I think quite a lot of people on the folk scene were kind of born into the scene to a greater or lesser extent.
Yeah.
You know, whatever it may be. I wasn't born into the scene, but I was born into a house where I could hear the music, because my dad is from Liverpool, and as with most Liverpudlians, his entire family are Irish. So basically, he used to listen to a lot of Irish folk stuff. I mean, people like Four Men and a Dog. My mum listened to a lot of old blues records, Elmore James, Howlin' Wolf, Muddy Waters. So I had great education there, and I listened to a lot of really great music from a young age, and I just loved it. But the folk thing particularly, I don't know why, just from the get-go, Irish stuff originally, and later on quite a lot of Scottish stuff as well.
How did you get into playing the banjo? Because it's not like most young people go and pick up a guitar.
Yeah.
What drew you to the banjo?
Two things happened really. I listened to Four Men and a Dog, who I mentioned earlier, and Jerry O'Connor was the tenor banjo player in Four Men and a Dog, and it was a particular moment I remember where I was basically raiding my parents' CD selection because they had some really good stuff, and I put this Four Men and a Dog CD on, and Jerry O'Connor's tunes came out, and I was like, holy, that's like, I'd forgotten how great this is. We actually went to see the Dubliners as well, and dear old Barney McKenna, God rest him, played a little banjo medley in the gig, where he got faster and faster and faster, and he finished a tune with a tune called the High Reel, and that really was the moment where I was like, I want to play banjo. So my parents basically just they just went to the music shop and said, does anyone teach banjo anywhere near here? This is pre Skype and Zoom and everything, so and unfortunately there was one guy, George Davis, who I'm sure we'll talk about plenty, because I love that man dearly, and he's changed my entire life really. But he was the only teacher within a sensible distance. He was about half an hour away, so I used to get the bus to Cannock every week to have lessons with him, and that's really where the banjo thing started.
For those that don't know, you're kind of considered to be a master of the claw hammer technique. For those that don't know, what is the claw hammer technique?
In terms of the basic techniques, so the instrument I grew up listening to, tenor banjo, is not this instrument. So basically, the Irish stuff that I have referred to, which is what made me want to play banjo, tenor banjo is a completely different instrument to this. So a tenor banjo has 4 strings, not 5, and is tuned like a violin or a mandolin, so GDAE. And I obviously didn't know this as a young lad from Stafford. I just thought banjo was banjo. So because George was the only teacher, by default I ended up playing clawhammer style, because that's what he did. So the idea behind clawhammer is that you play with your fingernail, usually that one or that one, You form your hand into, you can have a go if you like, you form your hand into a claw like so. That's it. And then basically you're playing, like I say, with the back of that nail in this kind of downstroke motion, and your thumb kind of fills in the gaps. And then your left hand can do things like hammers or pull-offs or slides. So that's how you sort of fill in the gap. So originally, like I say, we're thinking very much on the rhythmic side. Like really sort of strong rhythm and an emphasis. And don't get me wrong, I think that's great. I think that's brilliant. And if you're playing in an old-time band, that's completely the thing to do. Yeah. My approach to clawhammer's always been a little bit different in that Ken Perlman, whose book, in fact, I'll show you this. This is great. So this is the book I learnt from, and as you can tell, it's quite well loved. It's barely a book anymore. But that's the book I largely learnt from, and he's a pioneer of what's called melodic clawhammer, which essentially means using exactly the same technique, but to play sort of fully fledged melodies rather than necessarily worrying about chords and things. Yeah. So that tune I just played, instead of playing it like that, you might play... So you can get all the notes out of it. Yeah. Rather than, sort of worrying about filling in all the chords. Of course, you can then include the chords as well. Yeah. It depends what it is you want to do. And my sort of approach with clawhammer is... Because I did have a bit of an existential crisis at one point, because I thought, well... Because I was doing a workshop on playing Irish and Scottish tunes in clawhammer style, and I said, what we're basically trying to do is imitate what a tenor banjo does. And then a voice in the back of my head said, why don't you just play tenor banjo then? I was sort of thinking, like, is my whole existence completely useless? And then I thought, well, actually, no, because I think there is a very different sound from playing it clawhammer style to playing with a plectrum. And also, clawhammer always has such a percussive drive anyway, and the ability to put chords in, that actually, no, there is a point to doing it this way, because you can capture a lot of what you're trying to get from the tenor banjo sound, but inject a bit of that clawhammer-ness into it.
But you don't only perform on your own. You've got solo shows which are superb. I mean, more recently you've struck up a pretty incredible partnership with Brooks Williams, who's a brilliant American guitarist, singer-songwriter.
The roar of the Indian scout, the stars that shine at the Curacao, Tornado Smith and the Lioness, Marjorie dead.
So how did that partnership come about?
So that really was a product of lockdown, I guess. So I did no end of these split screen duets in lockdown, which obviously quite a lot of musicians did. I think we all learnt to be video editors at a rapid pace, didn't we? So I kind of did all these duets, and he was one of the first people I asked. So Brooks was like, I just thought he was brilliant. And so bloody cool as well. So
you guys going to be hitting the road in 2023?
Yeah, so we're going to be doing a little run in May. We'll
awesome.
be doing a gig, a run of gigs then, and then some festivals and some more stuff at the end of the year.
Presumably you're touring solo as well?
So I'll be doing stuff with Brooks in May, and with Urban Folk Quartet in a little bit in April and in the autumn. So yes, I will do solo bits here and there, but probably more in the form of odds and ends rather than kind of the way I used to do it, which was very much like a big solo jaunt.
Just wondering if you've got any more stuff coming up with UFQ, because they are pretty much one of our favourite folk acts in the world ever.
So much so that those guys played at our wedding. You were at our wedding. But also, actually, I mean, I've talked to Joe and Tom about this, that UFQ is one of the reasons that we do this for a living, because they were one of the first bands we saw at Llama Tree 2012.
2012, yeah.
And it was such an exciting show that it just inspired us to go out and make music, albeit very different and slightly and slightly less energetic.
Slightly less energetic.
Yeah, I mean they had a similar effect on me, to be honest, when I saw them before I joined, and because of my baby situation, where we're just doing a small spattering of gigs in spring, and then we'll do a much bigger run later in the year, and we've already got quite a few festivals coming in as well, so we're very much back, and our long-awaited album will be finished as well. That's been in the works for some time, but just with one thing and another, and it's had to wait, unfortunately, but that is definitely imminent as well.
Back.
Yeah.
We will be looking forward to that. Talking of albums, you yourself, you've got a new one coming out this month, haven't you? It's called O'Neill's Tunes, is that right?
Yeah. It's basically, so I wrote a book. I've written 2 books of banjo stuff, and one of them I wrote during the lockdown year, and it's called O'Neill's Tunes for Clawhammer Banjo. So, touching on our earlier conversation, it's basically a load of arrangements of traditional Irish tunes for clawhammer style. And one album I've never really made is just a straight ahead album of playing jigs and reels with a really simple, like with a guitar accompaniment, and like that's it. So I thought, well, there's never been a better opportunity. Let's just go for it.
Awesome. Mate, thank you so much for talking to us.
Pleasure as always.
It's been lovely. The final thing to say, I think we didn't discuss this before we started the interview, but
We really should discuss it.
I think you've got a live track for us.
Yes.
Right answer.
I love it.
Shall I do that? Yeah.
Yeah. Look. We're going to give Dan just a couple of moments to get himself sorted. danwalshbanjo.co.uk. He's going to be on the road, solo with Brooks Williams and also with the Urban Folk Quartet later in the year. So hopefully he's tuned the banjo. I mean,
The banjo's always in tune.
Oh, it's always in tune.
Yeah.
So look, here we go. Back over to Dan for a live track from the new album. Dan?
Yeah, I'll play you a medley of Irish things. I think that seems like a good plan.
Here we go. Dan Walsh, everybody. What a treat. What a brilliant musician and a thoroughly charming chap Dan is.
He's quite special, isn't he? Yes, we do love Dan. So if you'd like to hear a bit more of his music or find out where he's going to be in your area next, either doing his solo shows or with Urban Folk Quartet, head over to www.danwalshbanjo.co.uk.
Yes, and we'll put that in the comments as well. So if you've joined us for these episodes before, you'll know that we like to include an excerpt from the concert archive. What is the concert archive? I hear you asking if you're joining us for the first time. Well, the concert archive is it's a repository of some of our favourite live streamed concerts. We've been doing them since April 2020 now.
Getting on for 3 years
It's getting on for 3 years. And there's all sorts of fabulous concerts past that we put in there. And we're going to share you a song from one we did last spring at the Earth House in Cranbourne's Ancient Technology Centre.
Very memorable, not least for the fact that we nearly set fire to the stage at the end of that show.
That doesn't happen on every occasion, but that was certainly memorable. But what also made it memorable, not just the fire, was the fact that we were playing with one of our other good musical friends, Lee Mackenzie, on cello. So let's head over to Cranbourne, and you can have a little listen to a song called House by the wonderful Patrick Wolf.
Oh, I love this house, I love this house. Gives me the greatest peace I've ever known. Oh, I love to hear those conkers fall, smash 'em on the Southwark stone. And I love that here you live with me. Gives me the greatest peace I've ever known. 'Cause I've been too long a lonely man. Yes, I've been too long a rolling stone. And let seasons turn, grow paradise, God own, and to my mind, creation, the native has returned. Oh, I love the golden of your hair. Gives me the greatest peace I've ever known. I see Dylan Thomas in your face. Recite Buckley Ace there in your grave. Your grace, and let seasons turn, go paradise, God own, and to my mind, creation, the native has returned. And if I had to die today, scatter my ashes on this place, and I'll live on in your grieving heart. But until that day that we depart, this is the greatest peace I've ever known. This is the greatest peace I've ever known. This is the greatest peace I've ever known. Only your love makes hell so whole, whole, whole.
always such a pleasure to play with Lee on the cello with our music, no matter how cold the venue may be. It was pretty chilly, wasn't it?
It was pretty chilly. You can catch the full version of that show on the concert archive in 4K ultra high definition, which means the bit where we set fire to the stage looks even clearer and even more ridiculous than it did when we originally broadcast it.
So we've got plans are afoot for 2023's live streams. We've got 4 planned for this year. One of them is almost certainly going to be another ensemble outfit, maybe even with John Parker on the double bass for this year's offering. But,
In a warmer venue.
Definitely in a warmer venue. It couldn't be colder.
This is a venue where you won't be able to see our breath on the air or our shivering. Yes. And don't forget, actually, the exciting thing about that show is that there is a live CD available of it.
Limited edition.
Yes, it's in the Ninebarrow shop. Many of you ordered it over Christmas. We've still got some copies left, but when they're gone, they are gone. So I don't think we're going to be having a rerun done of that particular CD. So get it while it's hot, everybody.
Right, now time, I think, to finish off, head back up to North Dorset for the second half of our wandering and minstrelling.
To the stone, to the stone. Follow me, child, with your back to the tide, where the wet grass grows green and the red kestrel flies. That's where we place our unchanging bones, supported, encircled, protected by stone. To the stone, to the stone.
So, we finally made it up the fairly steep climb to the top of Hod Hill.
I'm always struck when climbing up hill forts that, I mean, we're finding it hard work, but when these ramparts were at their full height 2,000 years ago with the added complexity of having sharp objects chucked down at you.
And wearing armour as well.
Wearing armour, yeah. It probably would have been even a little more tricky back in the Iron Age.
Yeah, we shouldn't complain, should we? And it would have been quite the community here to defend this fort as well. Hod Hill was a large Iron Age settlement, likely made up of over 200 roundhouses.
Yeah, and as was the case with Hambledon Hill, it would have been occupied by the Durotriges tribe prior to the Roman invasion of AD 43.
In the immediate aftermath of that invasion, the Second Augustan Legion was given the job of pacifying the southwest, and in the process of doing so, they captured quite a number of hill forts, including this one.
Yeah, but again, there are differing interpretations of exactly how much of a battle there was, and indeed whether there was a battle here at all.
Because they did find a large number of ballista bolts, and they recovered them in an area that's been dubbed the Chieftain's Hut. And some have used that as evidence that there probably was quite a large battle here to secure the fort from the Durotriges.
Yeah, but more recently, interpretations of that evidence have actually come to the conclusion that those ballista bolts were more likely to be evidence of Roman target practice once they had set up shop here.
So yeah, battle or not, what is clear is that the Romans chose to build their own stronghold here within the perimeter of the former hill fort, because after all, it was a pretty nice spot, wasn't it? An excellent location, not only in terms of it being a brilliant vantage point, but also due to its proximity to the river down there, which provided an excellent means of resupplying the garrison.
Okay, it's time to begin our homeward journey. Sadly, we've got to drop off Hod Hill now after climbing all the way to the top of it, and then we've got to climb up Hambledon Hill as well to get back to our starting point. So off we go.
So sadly, we're not a million miles away from the finish of our walk today, lovely as it has been, but we've talked a lot about the history of these hill forts, but not so much about the present, have we?
No, we haven't, and that's a good point. You'll have seen quite a lot of grazing cattle and sheep around as we've been doing our wandering, but it's worth noting that because of the steep profile that these hill forts have, the landscape here has never really been intensively farmed like a lot of the surrounding area.
And it's for that reason that hill forts like these have developed into really amazing habitats for all sorts of wildflowers and butterflies.
Yeah, sadly, it's not really the right time of year for us to be able to cut away to some lovely shots of those, brisk and autumnal as it is here today. But if you come up here between May and September, you will be rewarded with a plethora of wildflowers. And I seem to remember cowslips as far as the eye could see up here.
There's photos of that. We can actually show them.
Oh, we'll cut to a photo.
Let's do that,
all right,
yes.
we'll do that.
But there's also masses of bird life around here too. Everything from buzzards and kestrels to the occasional Dartford warbler, I've heard.
Oh, my
Yeah.
favourites. And don't forget bats, everybody, which if we're not careful, we're probably going to start seeing fairly soon, because daylight is disappearing fast. So let's finish up this walk and head back to the brow of Hambledon Hill for one final song.
Held there in the stone, to the stones, to the stones, to the stones.
Well, there we go. Another Wandering Minstrels done and dusted. And we're now back at the start of our wonderful route, and not a moment too soon by the looks of things.
The weather has changed. It is now very windy.
Yes.
Behind us, we're looking towards the northernmost tip of Dorset, and indeed two other counties. Let me get this right. It's Wiltshire and Somerset.
Yes, and almost directly to the north, we've got the conical outline of the highest point in the Blackmore Vale, which is Duncliffe Hill.
Yeah, that and Gillingham beyond it mark the northernmost extent of Dorset, and if we had an X-ray telescopic camera just a mile and a half north of Duncliffe Hill, you'd be able to see the Ninebarrow woodland.
Which we need to get back to pretty quickly, as Eddie the dog is probably quite hungry right now.
Yeah, but before we go, we're going to sing you one more song, and that is Come January. It feels like a fairly appropriate one because it's written about two times of year. The time of year that we're filming this, which is the autumn, but also the time of year that you'll be watching this, which is January.
Very appropriate.
Yeah, very appropriate. But
We'll find a place out of the wind to sing it for you, so you can hear it.
Yeah, that's happened quite a few times on Wandering. I don't know why we always pick the windiest day, but it was meant to be quite still today. It's not.
It's been a while since I've been low. Last time the sun still held his own against the night. And while I slept, November came. It's hard remembering warmer days. I'd rather stay here this time round, safe and hidden without a sound. Let's go back there, you and I, where the gold sun hits black sky, and we'll go walking in the rain. Let's go back there, you and I, where the hills are stretching high towards the sun, and we'll go walking in the rain, where the days don't end the same. Here the trees were given no chance to wear their fiery capes and dawns. Before we had a chance to see their coats were ripped not gold but green, away leaving them naked, cold, afraid. Let's go back there, you and I, where the gold sun hits black sky, and we'll go walking in the rain. Let's go back there, you and I, where the hills are stretching high towards the sun, and we'll go walking in the rain, where the days don't end the same. There's something in my mind, the thought of leaving you behind, to have to wear my face and leave, my heart not big enough to heave the farewell sigh to you and home. And I'll be going back alone come January, come January, come January, come January.
Well, there you go. Come January, the wind's dropped, the sun's come out. Just about perfect, I think. We'll hand back now to the other John and Jay, with added lawnmower in the background there for you as well.
Oh, what a lovely, lovely day out that was, and quite nice singing out over the landscape at sunset. That was a special moment, that.
I think, yeah, we really dodged a bullet there, because it kind of looked like it was going to rain. It was kind of gale force winds, and we just found a little sweet spot out of the wind before it rained. Gorgeous.
Very, very special. Yeah. So, that's the end of the walk, but it's definitely not the end of the show. We normally wrap things up fairly quickly after that, but we've still got a little bit more to go.
We've got lots more, not to, you know, not to be forgetting the old salad spinner of suspense. That will be coming out at the end of the show. But next up, we've got our episode 7 mixtape, which is another opportunity for us to share with you some of the music that we love. And this episode, we're going to be delving into the musical lineup of our 2024 musical walking holiday.
Yes, we've got 3 sold-out walking holidays for 2023.
Yes, which is very, very exciting. But January is the time we start to look forward to the next round of holidays. So we are very, very delighted to be able to announce the dates. They are all over at the website. The website is now live, ninebarrowwalking.co.uk. They're in May and June of 2024. You can go and check the dates at your leisure, but we've also announced the musical lineup as well.
There's an awful lot going on in the musical lineup, but we've got Will McNichol, we've got Odette Michelle, fabulous voice. We have got Vicky Swan and Johnny Dyer joining us. We've got the multi-award winning Catherine Roberts and Sean Lakeman.
So exciting. And after years of attempting to book him and not being able to get the dates to work, we've finally gone and booked Blair Dunlop. He's a top performer, someone we've loved for many, many years. So we're going to share you a track of his now. The rest of the mixtape will be filled with music from some of those other artists and a few others besides. But we're going to play you a track called 356 now by Blair Dunlop. It's actually about a Porsche, which
Nothing
is
to do with walking holidays at all.
entirely out of keeping with the walking holiday vibe.
It's a good tune.
But it is a good tune and it's very summery, and we thought it was fairly appropriate. So Blair Dunlop 356, accompanied by some of our favourite snaps that we've taken over the last couple of years of walking holidays.
Well, the sun beat down on Mayfair, on the golden heart of the town. You could tell it was touching the 30s by the glacial beads on his brow. The golden heart of the town, they said, in all its splendor and charm. But only gold as finery, your wallet as a firearm. Park Lane behind him was rolling all the way up to Marble Arch. Rollers to drop-top Benzes, but none of them tugged at the heart. As soon as his nose pressed the window of a German dealership, the bulbous size of a 356 caught him and never let slip. She doesn't turn with much conviction, and her toggle leaks in the rain. But she comes with a boot full of stories and an innocence hard to contain. The man at the door entertained him, though his shoes were falling apart. It had been slow from behind the desk, and he had facts to impart. They looked at the engine together, air cooled and mounted in the rear. Flat four with dual carburetors and thirsty in any gear. And just 40,000 on the clocks, he said. She'll go for quite a price. There's an oligarch around the corner who's been in to see her twice. Oh, the secret lies in her age, he said. Oh, doesn't she look sinless? You could park her outside the Dorchester and get all the interest. And she doesn't turn with much conviction, and her toggle leaks in the rain. but she comes with a boot full of stories and an innocence hard to contain. And if I had the money, I'd release her from her chains, drive her through the streets of Mayfair, turn round and do it all over again.
Blair Dunlop 356. What a lovely summery track.
What a
that
tune.
is.
Yes, and so many happy memories on those photos as well. Really lovely.
If you want to listen to a bit of Blair Dunlop, as well as all of the other wonderful musicians we've got coming in 2024, and indeed some of the ones we've got coming in 2023, head on over to Spotify, search for Wandering Minstrels. If it doesn't come up there, because the search results sometimes don't work in Spotify, head on over to ninebarrow.co.uk/minstrels, and there will be a direct link. Now, the Walking website is live in terms of being able to view the dates and being able to see the musical lineup, but the full itinerary and the booking forms, pricing information, all that kind of stuff is not being launched until 9 AM on the 22nd of January. Now, you're gonna want to make sure you're signed up before then so that that information comes through to you first thing, because we have very few places available.
Yes, we're very happy to say that a lot of our previous guests are veterans of our previous walking holidays.
They've done their first tour.
They have already expressed their interest for 2024 and they will get first dibs, and there's quite a few of them who have taken that up already. So
9 AM, 22nd of January, be there or potentially be disappointed, I think. Right, it's the moment you've all been waiting for, everybody.
the salad spinner of suspense has arrived.
Okay.
It's not on top. Is it spinning? Is it spinning?
Are you saying that my spinning is not... I think Jay was implying I didn't know how to use it.
I was implying it, but no, we've got it there. It's spinning up. So while the suspenseful spinning is starting, I just wanted to say a massive thank you to everybody who bought a calendar or a diary over Christmas. We hope you're really enjoying them at the moment, but anybody who bought the calendar or the diary was put into the free prize draw to win a framed print from my back catalogue of their choice. So you can choose whichever photo of ours that you would like. I'll frame it up for you and we'll send it out. So without further ado...
I think I found a new instrument.
Oh, it's got quite a nice tune to it. Can you actually hear it? Yeah, a nice little drone. The raffle tickets are in there. We
Wind her
shall now...
up. Okay, this... Hang on. Just because some of them fall out the bottom, I have tested this. Okay.
Okay.
In they go. Let's chuck that over there as well. Right. So, to win one of Jay's framed prints, tickets at the ready.
The winning ticket is... number 117.
Number 117.
117.
117. Now, your raffle ticket will have a link to a web address where you can kind of find out all of the details you need to know. But essentially, if you've got that winning ticket...
Congratulations.
Congratulations, first of all. Drop us an email, info@ninebarrow.co.uk with a little picture of you holding that ticket, and that will be sufficient proof that you are, in fact, the winner. Thanks so much for all your support with those calendars and diaries. It's a lovely time of the year watching all of those disappear out across the UK and indeed the world.
Beyond.
So there. Well, we may well do another great Ninebarrow raffle in 2024. Who knows? Maybe. Who knows? We'll have a think about that. Right. We've got very little left to tell you, apart from the fact we are going to be on the road this spring. This March, we've got a host of tour dates. I think what we're going to do is put those tour dates on the screen for you, and I am going to commentate over the top of them. I'm not sure how this is going to work. We haven't rehearsed this, but okay, here is the tour. And they're off. That's not actually the car that we drive. We're going to be going to Cornwall. Many of you have been asking for it. We have finally delivered Port Isaac, the beautiful Port Isaac, St Leonard's Church in Sheepstor. Beautiful, I think our 5th concert there. We're going to be at the David Hall in South Petherton. Beautiful, beautiful chapel venue. Then I think, yes, Horton and Little Sodbury Village Hall. I think it's our 5th gig there as well. Always a top one. We're going to be going to Oxfordshire, Stanton St John. Beautiful church. 2nd gig there, if I remember correctly. Then some really bad planning as we go all the way up to York. These are not in date order, by the way, but Al Music Club in York we're really looking forward to. Very sorry, we're not in the Midlands or the North very much, but we will be later in the year, we promise. But we're going to be in Hertfordshire, Holy Trinity Church near Banjo, and then I think we go inside the M25. We don't do this very often, Jay. St John of Jerusalem in Hackney. We've got a date in Kent, St Dunstan's Church near Cranbrook. And last but not least, the Hardy Theatre in Dorchester as part of a Dorchester Arts concert, which we're thoroughly looking forward to. And there we go.
Nicely done, John. Well done.
I don't think I'd make a very good commentator, to be honest.
I don't know about that.
Too out of breath.
I'm breathless myself. Anyway, so that's very nearly the end of the show, but you'll know that we always like to leave you with a little bit of a trailer for something coming up.
Yeah, something to look forward to. On the road in March, but in February, we're going to be bringing you a full concert from, well, not right here, but right there.
2 feet over that way.
In the lounge.
In the lounge. I'm in the dining room on this side of the...
And I'm in the lounge. I've never thought about it like that before, but we are in we broadcast from 2 separate rooms.
This is Studio 1, that's Studio 2, and we shall be performing live from Studio 2 in February.
And we're currently in Studio 2, 1.5? It sounds a bit J.K. Rowling, that, doesn't it? Studio 1.5. I think we need to end the show now.
I think we need
to end the show. Anyway, what we're trying to say is we're going to leave you with some snippets of HQ shows past. No music, but just some of the, well, more relaxed moments.
There will be music in the actual show, obviously, next time. But for this particular trailer, we decided, for the little bit of the bloopers.
Yes, there's the blooper reel, maybe.
You can't call it bloopers because there's no cutting room floor. This all went out live.
Thanks for joining us, everybody. Always lovely to spend an episode of Wandering Minstrels with you. The date for your diary for this concert is the 11th of February. It's going to be a donations welcome, free-to-air concert, something to cheer you up this winter. We'll look forward to seeing you then. And until then, take care. We'll see you soon.
I forgot to put the reverb on.
Oh, man.
Oh, that's a shame.
I call it Whitley's paradox after Professor Jonathan Paul Whitley that we've got over here. I say that for every bit of tech that John tries to employ to mitigate certain things going wrong, it creates lots of other things that potentially go wrong.
Coming to really understand. Oh, mother, have you brought me gold? Damn it, I've not got my stomp box on. Oh no, I'm not doing the whole song without a stomp box, and I couldn't reach it. This is classic Ninebarrow, isn't it? Blinking Nora.
Yeah.
So we decided that instead we were going to do star jumps this week.
Every time we thought about a beer, which we haven't stopped doing star jumps the whole time.
So I'm knackered.
And very trim.
Wow. I thought it'd be less nerve-wracking the second time around.
No, it's really not.
It's not. And yes, I mean the refrain goes, with a girt big stick I'll knock him down, blackbird I'll have he. Yeah. Are we going to do the awkward thing where we try and hide?
We're going to assume that people are clapping. Okay, bye. Ow. You can always sing along with us. You can go for your life. You can really sing your heart out. But, sorry, John's giving me the nod. I've got to go.
So I was forgetting I was on the camera.
He thought it was being surreptitious. But,
we are playing a completely different set tonight from last time, and if we do a third one, the light just went off.
I've been waiting for so long to see, to find someone who satisfies me.
And that is why he's got the tight trousers, everybody. That's why he's got the tight trousers.
We really hope you enjoyed watching this episode of Ninebarrow Wandering Minstrels.
Creating these shows is a real labour of love for us.
And every episode takes well over a week to create.
First, there's writing the script.
Then there's a pre-shoot location visit to check out where we're going to film, when we usually capture some of the drone footage.
Then we rehearse.
And then we lug all of our gear out on location at sunrise and begin the hard work.
3 cameras, 1 drone, mobile lighting rigs, field audio recording equipment.
Instruments, a battery generator, the list goes on.
And then when we're done on location, we bring home about 200 gigabytes of footage which John then gets to work on in the editing suite.
And during the couple of days it takes to edit the show together, we usually hook up with some other folky bods to record an interview to include as well.
Every episode takes somewhere between 60 and 70 hours to create, and we love every single minute of it.
If you've enjoyed this episode and you'd like us to continue sharing more stories, music, natural history and folklore, we'd be so grateful if you'd consider making a broadcast donation.
Or you can also support us by visiting our online shop. Every single item in it, from CDs to t-shirts, from framed prints to tea towels, they've all been designed with love and care by, well, us here at Ninebarrow HQ.
Help support us to keep bringing you new adventures and get something beautiful in return.
Because of you, we can keep investing the time and money needed to create episodes like the one you just watched and keep them free to air for everyone to enjoy.
Thank you so much for your support.